Forgiveness is not always easy. People can hurt us in a million ways, making us feel so bad that we can't even look at them. Our topic for today is forgiveness. How can we embrace forgiveness to better our relationships and better our lives? Our guest for today is Pauline Gikana of Wawera Counseling. She's a counselor and she's passionate about what she does. And perhaps her perspective about forgiveness might make you change something about what you feel on that topic.
Yeah.
Pauline?
Yes.
Welcome
Christine.
to the couch.
Thank you
Good
for
to see
having
you again,
me.
as usual.
Yes.
Very nice to have you.
Nice to have you.
You know, for anybody who's just heard our intro and they hear the word forgiveness, they remember all these things that somebody or even people in their lives have done to them. Sometimes forgiveness can be downright betrayal or just guys being insensitive. Why do you think it's an important topic for us to be talking about?
Forgiveness is, let me start saying that it's not human language. I mean, it's not something which we it's not our default. You know, the opposite is the default. So it's important because it frees you to enjoy life.
I like that.
Yes.
Forgiveness is important because it frees you.
Yes.
It frees me.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes.
And I like the way you put it. It's not our default because ordinarily, even for women, if you do something to me,
Yes.
I will remember.
Of course.
And worse still, if you're in a relationship, I will remember double and bring it over and over
again.
every time we have an argument.
Exactly.
So, but you are the expert. So then again, apart from, you know, just it being important for, you know, just letting go of stuff. Why is it important?
First of all, it frees you. You know, it gives you space to do the most, you know, important thing that you need to be doing to build yourself. So, of course, first of all, we need to know it doesn't make the offender right. You know, most of the times, and that's why we are not able to, because we feel like, am I saying that whatever he... No. Remember, we said freeing you. So it's not about freeing the other person, because there are people you actually tell, I've forgiven you, but they don't want to hear that. So it's about you. I mean, I've done it, I've told them. So if they take it or not, I have already done it. So it helps you in your daily, you know, your daily walk and all. And of course, it helps you in your relationships. You're able to relate better with people without resentment within, because you're feeling, you're fearing maybe it will be done over and again. But if it's a culture that you have of forgiving when you're wronged, and then you definitely will be able to keep enjoying your relationship.
Absolutely. I like the fact that you say that forgiveness is not for the other person.
No.
It is for you.
Yes.
You release
Absolutely.
the other person.
You release the other person, not because they deserve, but for you.
On the same topic, I know a lot of us, regardless of religion,
Yes.
a lot of them propagate the fact that it's important for us to forgive. But do you think there are things that people do to us that are absolutely unforgivable? Like, what is it that somebody can do to you that even you as a professional, you'd come back to me and say, apana,
Yeah.
hiyo usimwachie.
I get what you mean. And of course, as human beings, there are things that we have labeled. Like, if that person does this, I cannot forgive. I mean, when you're talking to people even who want to get married, because we do that a lot, you know, you'll ask them, what is it that thing they can do, your spouse will do, you're not able. And of course, they'll have a list, you know, there's so much. But I think, Christine, and I want to believe this, that there's nothing that is unforgivable.
Nothing.
And you know, forgiving then does also not mean forgiveness does not mean you still remain in the relationship. You see, maybe if I forgive a wrong of somebody who has wronged me, I'm forgiving so that I may be able to continue with my life thriving. Now, it may not, the relationship may actually not work out. But then, I'll not then look at them with grudge anymore. I'll just know it never worked out, but I have forgiven them. And so I'll have a choice. Do I want to mend this relationship? Because the relationship may never be the same again. Because of course it depends on the depth of the heart.
Absolutely.
So it's not always so that the relationship is mended. No.
Do you know there's something you have said? That then when we release the person who's offended us,
yes,
that we are able to move along and thrive.
Exactly.
Walking around with a grudge, walking around feeling so hurt, like
exactly.
I cannot believe what that person has done to me.
Yes.
Takes up so much energy.
A lot of energy.
It's almost impossible.
Exactly.
To be productive.
To be productive. And you know, this is a small world. You will meet the person who offended you. You might just find yourself in the supermarket. You always meet them.
And there your day changes.
But you see, when you've forgiven them, the relationship may not be the same, but you're able to say hi, to be civil. Hi.
I like that. To be civil.
To be civil. Exactly. And you know, I always say it's a very tricky thing, because I may not want to forgive this time, but I might find myself on the other end where I also need to be forgiven. So that's why it's very cautious. We need to be very cautious, even as we decide whether not to or not.
Yeah.
Let's know that we can also be on the side of needing forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And you know, there's somewhere I was reading that sometimes people are trying to do the best that they can do based on what they know, their previous experiences.
Exactly.
You don't know how people grew up.
Yes, definitely.
Or whatever different influences have had on them. So it's important for us to extend graces, because one day we will need the same graces to be extended to us.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely
that is life
for us, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is life.
Moving to the point of the how. How do you forgive?
How do you forgive?
As a professional, what are the strategies you can give us on how to forgive? Say in the context of relationships, how can we do that?
Now, if it's the context of a relationship, forgiveness is actually healing. Actually, healing starts when you forgive. Because if your heart, forgiveness is normally the first place where you begin. So I choose to forgive. And you actually admit it with yourself that I've chosen to forgive for this reason. Now, it's very important, even as you choose to forgive, to be specific. What am I forgiving for? I mean, you might find someone saying, I forgive them for everything they have done. No,
so it needs to be specific.
Everything.
This is what I'm forgiving so and so for.
They were unfaithful. They cheated. They stole my money. You are not, you are supposed to come, you never came. For that particular, what is it? So it's not wholesale forgiveness.
So number one, be specific what you're forgiving. Be specific.
Choose to forgive, then be specific. What are you forgiving? Because you have to have chosen to forgive. Then what is it that I'm forgiving?
Okay.
And then, of course, when you're able to be specific, then you're able to admit that I have decided to forgive this person. Now, there's somebody who will want to go further than that. I mean, there's somebody who feels I'm not ready to go to the person to tell them I've forgiven them. It is still okay. The most important thing is you are forgiven. Now, what happens? Time comes. Maybe you're not ready, and you should not also rush healing. Healing takes time. There are people who will do it very quickly. There are people who will take some time. But the most important thing is you have forgiven. So when you do that, you can go another step and decide, I'm going to call them up. I'm going to write them an email. I'm going to ask to meet them. You could do a WhatsApp. Yes, it's a commitment. I mean, it's all right, because maybe you had that kind of a relationship. I mean, if it's a spouse relationship, that's fine. So you can just tell them that for this and this reason, I have chosen to forgive you.
And they don't have to respond.
And they do not have to respond. Let them also take their time. But you have said it. They might even tell you, I don't want anything to do with you. Just know you have done what needed to be done. And then now leave it to them. Now, in the process of forgiveness, you might still feel, you still remember with pain. Now, what happens when the healing is taking place and time is passing, you realize that you will remember what was done, but you do not remember with pain, as much pain.
So it doesn't hold you prisoner anymore.
Exactly. It doesn't hold you prisoner anymore. So don't beat yourself like, why am I still feeling this? Yet I've forgiven. Just keep reaffirming yourself, I forgive, I will be fine. Affirm yourself. And then along the way, and that's why I don't totally believe in forgive and forget. It's not practical. But you'll be surprised after years or a year or months, depending on somebody's personality as well. And I'm sure, Christine, you'll bear me witness. There are things you try to remember were done to you. You can't remember.
No, they're not important anymore.
So what happened? You know, time, you know, you are able to actually now forget. Now that's now forgetting. Time helps in
and
that.
time heals.
And time heals. And if you forget, if you remember, you don't remember with pain. Yes.
The beauty of time.
Exactly.
The beauty of time.
Yes.
So one, you have said, when it comes to forgiveness,
choose
to forgive, and then be very specific.
Be very specific. Then reach out to that person. Yes. Reach out to that person. You do not have to wait for a response. Yes. And then after that, now keep moving.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. It looks so complex, but then again, it's difficult because it's not our human language. Remember, it's not our default. Our default is not to forgive. So it's not human language, but the acts are as simple as it is. But then the process and the time may be longer, depending, of course, on how deep the heart had gone.
Counselor Pauline, as we are ending this vital conversation on forgiveness.
Yes.
I know there's somebody who's watching. Maybe if they are still watching, they're thinking, I don't know. What is your parting shot?
Wow.
Your closing argument.
My closing.
On why forgiveness is important and we need to embrace it.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. And I would really encourage every woman and gentleman listening to cultivate that culture of forgiving. I mean, there are things possibly you still have and haven't, you know, get them out and be specific, write them down. This I was done this time by this person. Let me go through that process of forgiving. So maintain that culture. I think for me, the parting shot would be, don't feel like forgiving the person makes them right or like they're going to go scot-free. Remember, it's all about you. Forgiveness is more about you. So do it. And remember, one of the things that makes us not to forgive is the pride within us. You know, the egos within us. We don't want, how can they'll think I'm not worth anything. Remember, that is detrimental when it comes to forgiveness. So choose right, choose forgiveness. You'll never go wrong with that, and you will keep thriving. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Pauline. And you know, you've looked straight into the person who's watching. I know they've taken you seriously, and it's so important for us to choose to forgive, not for the other person,
no,
but for ourselves.
Exactly.
Forgiveness equals better health, equals less stress, equals better relationships. So let's embrace forgiveness as our own culture. Not for the other person, as we have said, but for you. It is good for you. Thank you so much for joining in this conversation. Councillor Pauline, as usual, we thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And for
always
your expertise. Always a joy, absolutely.
Yes.
And for you who's watching, continue learning with us. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, share with your friends so we can continue to learn and to grow together. See you in the next conversation.